On the morning of Sunday, April 3, 2011, Reginald Day told first responder, police, and paramedics that he and Crystal Mangum were arguing over money prior to the stabbing incident. Day claimed that Mangum, who gained notoriety in the media as the Duke Lacrosse victim accuser, either took his money or refused to return his money, his story on this point not being consistent. Never once in these early interviews with police and investigators did Day or his nephew, Carlos Wilson, ever mention that she had taken cashier's checks or money orders, leaving the impression that she had stolen cash. Durham police and investigators also failed to ask how much cash was allegedly taken by Miss Mangum. According to police reports, the question is never asked by Durham's finest, and Day and Wilson never voluntarily mention the amount of cash allegedly stolen. Without even having the opportunity to give her statement as to what transpired leading up to the stabbing of Day, Crystal Mangum was arrested on site within hours of the incident and charged with assault with a deadly weapon with the intent to kill. According to Durham officer Marianne Bond, Mangum wanted to make a statement, but before she could, she was informed that she had been arrested and was read her Miranda rights, which stated that anything she said could be used against her. Officer Bond then asked Mangum if she wanted to answer some questions, at which time Mangum declined, and the so-called interview was terminated. Day underwent successful trauma surgery hours after his admission to Duke University Hospital through its emergency department. His post-operative prognosis was for a full recovery. According to Officer Bond's report, during an interview with Day the next day, Monday, April 4, 2011, he admitted that he had given 2 cashier's checks to Mangum for safekeeping. The checks totaled $700 and were to be used to cover April rent. More importantly, he admitted that the argument earlier the previous day had nothing to do with money or finances, but rather with her disrespect towards him, in particular her flirtatious ways with other men. On the third postoperative day, Wednesday, April 6, 2011, complications from delirium tremens set in. Day was moved to intensive care, and an endotracheal tube was accidentally placed in his esophagus instead of his airway. By the time the grave mistake was realized, Day was brain dead and in cardiac arrest. After 20 minutes of cardiopulmonary resuscitation, spontaneous restoration of circulation was achieved, but he remained in what was determined to be an irreversible coma. After a week of monitoring his condition under an umbrella of media silence, Day, having shown no signs of improvement, was electively taken off life support, and he died the evening of April 13, 2011. Up until the time of Reginald Day's death, Mangum had been charged only with assault with a deadly weapon. She had not been charged with larceny, larceny of chose in action, or any other crime. The following Monday, April 18, 2011, Durham prosecutor Kelly Gauger obtained a grand jury indictment against Mangum for the first-degree murder in the death of Reginald Day. The prosecutor had also gotten an indictment for 2 counts of larceny of chose in action against Mangum related to the 2 cashier's checks that Day admitted to have given her and which were in her possession at the time of her arrest. Both cashier's checks were filled out with Day as remitter and the apartment complex as the payee. Mangum had no ability to convert them for her own personal use, even if she wanted, and Day never was without the ability to redeem their cash value, provided he did so before they were cashed by the payee. Larceny of chose in action is a loophole law in which neither of its 2 primary elements was met. Mangum was given the cashier's checks. She did not steal or unlawfully take them. Furthermore, she merely held onto them per Day's request, making no attempt to alter or convert them for her use. There was no crime committed by Mangum. However, Prosecutor Gallagher and her successor, Charlene Coggins-Franks, held on to the charge because it was automatically a Class H felony, and the prosecution needed a felony for the felony-murder rule to be applicable. This problematic and controversial rule enables prosecutors to settle criminals with first-degree murder if an individual dies during the commission of a felony. A vendetta prosecution from day one as payback against Mangum for her role in the Duke Lacrosse case, Gallagher and Coggins-Franks were seeking a life sentence against her, something that a conviction on a first-degree murder charge could assure. And that was the purpose of the charge of larceny of chosen action, to guarantee that Mangum would spend the remainder of her life incarcerated. The larceny of chosen action charge should be immediately dismissed as the charge lacks probable cause, the elements of the charge missing in this case. Prosecution lacks an eyewitness to the alleged taking of the documents. Not only that, but Day admits that he gave the checks to Mangum. The prosecution has failed to present a plausible theory or a motive for Mangum to allegedly steal 2 cashier's checks that were filled out and that she could not convert. The prosecution has yet to present a consistent scenario of events involving the cashier's checks and the stabbing incident, and it has failed to present a connection between the two that is substantiated by their discovery. Dropping the criminal charges against Mangum definitely would not be precedent-setting.